2,000 years after Jesus Christ lived as a man on the earth, human geneticists began working on constructing a tree of immortal life embedded within the thermodynamic temporal universe. That was a counterintuitive effort, considering the thermodynamic process is about the increase of entropy. In the absence of spiritual development, live animals increase entropy overall in order to decrease it for themselves for a time. It is amazing that we can consider the history of a race and historical social traits even as the bodies pile up in the moat from the conflict surging around us. That's necessarily the way it is. Yvonne. What could we do? Pick a side and start killing people? When Cain, the maker of tools, killed his brother Abel, a shepherd, the sentient awareness of evil was present. Cain, like Adam and Eve, knew the difference between neutrality and evil. A sentient mind and a body integrated in an environment of original sin can rationalize away its knowledge of evil and even the difference between neutrality and evil. It cannot hide from itself the innate knowledge of the difference between good, neutrality, and evil when it acts as the predatory lion consuming others regarded as lambs for the taking. Yvonne thought about that a second and said, "So the insignificant empires of this world brawl through one another in an ecosphere without right moral direction. They are producer-consumers repressing with mass social privations, insults, sanctions, and death, unreflected immersion in original sin?" Exactly. Keep on your optic invisibility screen, Yvonne. I think the people of the insignificant empires are people that shouldn't see us for now. Our images weren't visible to the brawlers surging their way onto the prairie outside the castle walls, continuing their fight. They left many bodies strewn behind, unconscious and bloodied, while reinforcements pushed across the drawbridge. The epicenter of action continued to evolve, vectoring away from the crowd inside, surging out. We saw no obvious reason for the chaos at all. Punches were thrown all around. Wind across the prairie was rising ahead of a dust storm, looming several miles away. Senseless violence was silhouetted against a double-star dawn. Yvonne took out a quantum camera to record the fight. She must have made quite a substantial inventory of video captures to work with for cutting, splicing, and uploading YouTube movies. Several thousand men were embroiled in the melee. The women were missing, and I wondered about that. Maybe they were left behind in the city. Arising from nowhere, probably still shrouded before the moment, a host of vicious machines labeled with words in chartreuse letters, Cyborg Massachusetts, cut a way through the mass of men with laser life-size drawing tighter complete encirclement, and in seconds reduced the brawling men to smoldering piles of charred meat. We egressed from the scene of carnage quietly unnoticed by the Cyborg Massachusetts and made our way to the edge of the moat 30 feet from the drawbridge. Yvonne and I descended down the moat, climbing cautiously on its steep side to interview a survivor with a broken back. The interview was made easier because he couldn't see us. He could have touched and smelled our presence if he had tried very hard. Yvonne smelled rather sweet this morning. That's probably better than goat dung odor to a casualty. The smells of blood and offal in the dry, dusty moat distracted him enough with a broken back and paralysis that he might notice us, not that it mattered. "What is your name?" Yvonne asked the casualty. "Who are you? Where are you?" the broken man said. "I am Bull Cuerdo." "Why were you fighting, son?" Yvonne asked Bull Cuerdo. "We are the evolution of evil. I am the evolution. We fight for the evolution of unrighteousness because we evolved to do that." "Well, that wasn't the secret phrase, Bull. We are sorry to see you like this, arms all akimbo with compound vertebrae breaks. Everyone can have a bad day. Tell us about the Cyborg Massachusetts. What are they, and what authority sent them?" "The Cyborg M are godless enforcers of atheism. They evolve evil. They are made with computer-aided design and manufactured to consumer specifications with partial human brains. The synth-brains that hate love and love-hate operate the most wicked relevant machinery bodies available to keep the leavening mass of choosing for others dominant in political power. Beyond a slash in the Rodina, a deep chasm that is a tear in the fabric of reality, Cyborg Massachusetts are produced in the bloody shining city on a hill we see through a cloud of dust, darkly whenever at all. When cyborg Massachusetts programmers iterated corrupt controlling algorithms to win the last battle of the final 4 world brawls, the Eastern Evil Empire of insignificance made swell like no other empire before. Well, Yvonne, that doesn't sound much like an ignorant feudal bumpkin. I thought to ask Bolquerdo. In the next millennium, will the insignificant Eastern Evil Empire select a new cyborg Massachusetts ruling clique? The formerly brawling wretch Cuerdo was an obvious pain and shock talk. He tended to run on sentences as if he were chewing cut before the brawl, and the effects hadn't worn off yet. They always promise, so I would suppose they have been talking about power sharing for several hundred years at least, according to the public school mystery teachings. With that final piece of insignificant information, uttered Bolquerdo, experiencing the descent of the black curtain and shuddering chill of death. He expired, beginning the process of becoming one with the dust in his own mode of decay. The ground dissolved under us, though we didn't sink. It became transparent with myriad firefly-like atom-sized widgets replacing the minerals of the planet. Fewer widgets were replacing the atmosphere as usual as well. Then the city faded away to transform into trillions of little widgets resembling the Universal WIdget that we encountered on the planet Spud. We were still able to breathe. What is this widgetlessness transformation, Pat? If I were to guess, Yvonne, I would say it seems that the widget can boot up into reality at whatever scale it wants, converting mass and energy directly into little widgets. So you believe this reality formation is caused by the Universal WIdget, Pat? Well, I haven't got a more likely suspect. Apparently the UW is more fundamental than the Higgs field. You notice that gravity has stopped and time has quit. Relativity coheres with mass and energy. So with the UW replacing mass and energy, time has become relativistic, discrete, and stationary as an attribute of the Universal WIdget, following whatever way the Universal WIdget sentience or directions from whatever source that might be wills. So that means an absence of time as well as gravity? Evidently, Yvonne, we seem to be sustained by a local personal field enveloped within the meta-widget field. The widgets haven't yet consumed our mass energy. The space-time energy for ourselves coincides with our experience of being. Your space-time is one of my memories, this guy said. I think that was the Universal WIdget, Patrick. Yes, who else could it be, Yvonne? I asked the Universal WIdget, so how's life, UW? Same old, replied the Universal WIdget in its mellifluous style. Considering the circumstances and our vulnerability and subjectivity, I made a philosophical evaluation of the complete complex of compresence. Maybe the Universal WIdget didn't regard us as being highly sentient. It might have no experience of being human. Though we are a memory widget, I think we are real even so. We exist as real independent beings within your present memory. How thoughtful you are, Patrick Voivoda. Think about this. As all widgets that exist in widget reality are my sentient design, and since all things that I make to exist can be constructed in any time order, it follows that everything I think and will to be is predetermined to exist phenomenally. The Universal WIdget evidently created its form as a local infinity cloud of discrete widgets without any content from the standard model of quantum physics. It could build its own content and scale up or down with relativistic mass. Its own mass was relative to its intention with variables of composition, forming a unique steady state of fundamental energy. Energy without space-time mass needs to exist in quantum packets that aren't of infinite value themselves. Time can be reassembled subjectively into whatever structure the widget configures. Yvonne asked, Widgets, have you a name? No one before ever asked. Yes, I have a name. Well, that settles that, Yvonne. I asked the Universal WIdget, if we are experiencing no time passing for us now, with our Universe 1 mass of a different form than we are accustomed to, and if we visualize the beginning and end of our encounter with your will, at every instant finding complete routes through space-time, why is it that we speak in a linear way? You must be replacing our standard mass quanta with your timeless steady-state quanta as we speak, evolving a standing waveform of our being independent of any space-time compression setting? Patrick Voivoda, it is convenient to filter and structure an order for communication of idea expression, even though all actualized ideas could exist all at once with a specialized spatial structure. It takes It not only takes less time, it takes no time other than the present. For now, you are one of my memories, as is Yvonne. When I return you to a Universe 1 context, you will resume normal local integration in a steady-state actualization of the Higgs field ensemble with personal independence. Everything I encounter physically becomes one of my memories. You have a spiritual identity, a name known to the one who is three persons. I have data on where or how those names exist. I am concerned with my own widget workings, useful for widget Universe 1 generally. Pure spirit is of a finer nature than my own.